But it is also, we said to them, we signaled to them. We didn't just say it on the campaign trail. We remember what we said, and we are addressing it right up front. Now, the first budget, we're going to address this. And normally, if you don't reach, I think it was July or so, June, July, they got the retroactivity up to January. But that will be in the budget. So there was no need to announce that. I see a number of people said, oh, the president didn't deal with wages and salaries. It's not a budget speech. Minister Ashni Singh will present the budget. The president made it clear, consistent with what we do now to even out development. So we recognize that to get jobs and high-paying jobs in the Amerindian communities, in the riverine areas, the hinterland and riverine areas, in places like Region 10 or 6 or the other regions, outlying regions, Essequibo Coast mainly. We have to drive more businesses to go there. The oil and gas sector is not reaching, and the services sector boom that we've seen in Georgetown and Region 4, with 11 hotels and all of the new restaurants and a whole range of services here. It's not reaching these areas as quickly as we wish. So the president announced a series of incentives that will drive investments in these areas. He said, if you're going to invest in these areas, are job-creating areas, and Minister Ashni Singh will outline all the areas in the budget, but say agro-processing or some types of services, like veterinary services, etc., that are crucial to a national task. And if you're located in these areas, so one, if you're in these sectors that will export more, because we want a diversified economy. We don't want to put all of our eggs in the oil basket, like what other countries have done, and they suffered from the Dutch disease. So when the oil goes or the prices fall, they're in big trouble, like most countries you've seen around the world. We want to diversify. So he's saying if you're in any sector, or these sectors that are exporting now, producing to export, you get a tax. You don't pay any corporate tax. Secondly, if you are producing in Guyana to meet a demand that is now currently filled by import, you would also get the zero tax, the corporate tax. So that's a huge incentive. So for example, if we're importing, say, broccoli, and you have a company that's importing broccoli, and their local company is producing it now to replace that, they don't have to pay any corporate tax. So this is a big incentive that will drive a number of agro-processing in the country and some other sectors along the lines of, or in keeping with our overall plan to diversify the economy. And secondly, you can also get a tax-free or a tax holiday, basically, if you locate in some regions. When I was president, we passed one for Region 10, where if you locate in some of the regions, you can also then enjoy a tax-free status, because we want to diversify and spread more jobs and higher paying jobs across our country, not just in Region 4 where we have labor shortages already. So those announcements may seem pulled out of the sky. Some people may not understand them, but there's a strategic vision behind those announcements. Diversification, income generation, job creation in a number of areas, especially in the communities. He then said, apart from the taxes, we're prepared to co-invest with you. We're prepared to build the infrastructure or put in the infrastructure to support your investment. So let me give you an example. We have 26,000 acres at Skeldon. The private farmers around that area, the Molson Creek area, have about, through the crops, about maybe another 40,000 acres. And we believe we can open up another 75,000 acres from when we build the road from Molson Creek to Oriala. That's about 150,000 acres. And that excludes the 30,000 acres in Berbice that will become, basically, will be drained land, so you can go into cultivation because of the Hope-like canals that we're currently building to bypass the communities to bring the water from the backlands. So you were talking about 180,000 acres of land, a major agro-industrial complex in Berbice that could generate billions of dollars of income and for people and jobs for them. And exports, huge amount of exports. So we are diversifying our economy. So we are thinking about supporting infrastructure for that to happen. We have already planned to build a road to Oriala from Molson Creek. And then it also gives us greater control over our territory because we're doing that. So we also announced in our manifesto, it's in our manifesto, that in each region we will have a technical / innovation hub to work with farmers and fishermen and for training and product development and all small businesses in the regions across Guyana so that they can find support for the ventures that they're going. I can't explain it all here because it's comprehensive, but that is what the president outlined in a nutshell. Here are several ways in which we are going to pursue growth and development across our country in new sectors and also to spread jobs and wealth to the regions that feel still might be excluded. They can't share with the same level of prosperity like because of absence of jobs, and the people who live there, that they too have opportunities for this. That was a major area. Housing, for example, we made another promise. So that we want to get all of our people in decent homes, wherever they live across Guyana. And we're going to invest heavily in this. And we have a great track record, PPP government, of doing this. You have seen this. Starting from the early days, we took communities that were cane field. People don't remember that. Like Eccles and Diamond and all these places were cane field. When we started there, like at Diamond, it was all a cane field. The first house I built with the army, we built it at the back. There was nothing, no school, no hospital, no road, no bank, nothing there. Today, look at these thriving communities. We have a great track record over the years. In the last 5 years, we had to start from scratch. What we said is that, and the president reflected it in his speech, is that we want to, in next year's budget, you're going to see heavy set of investments in developing house lots across our country, but particularly in the 9 regions excluding 4. 4 is peculiar. Everybody from outside of 4, they come and apply in 4. The demand here is peculiar, and it's a big backlog here. But we believe we can clear, if you live in any other region, we can clear the backlog within 2 years, and we're going to invest in that. So that within 2 years, if you in these 9 regions, the other 9 regions, we can clear off the backlog of anyone who wants a house lot will get it at the same time. That's one. Now, if we have to do 45,000 house lots, and it's or 40,000 house lots or so, at $5 million per house lot, that's what it takes to put in the infrastructure. That's about $200 billion per year. Well, not per year, to finance that. 40,000 houses we said we want to build. And we have not just talked about it. We went out for an expression of interest. We got 213 proposals were submitted. We're narrowing this down because some of the people can't. They'll go back to you waiting 100 years for them to build the houses. And we can't wait that long. You know, we had a bad experience with a lot of them with the young professional homes. We awarded the contract. They take a long, long time. The people are waiting. Some of them are paying mortgages. And they would not, some of the local contractors, they don't show up for weeks. So we have to find a different system. If you're doing, you have to do about, maybe to get to that target, 15 houses a day. To get to that target over a 5 years period. And so, it's a big undertaking. But if they say on average we're going to spend, say $15 million for a house, for one house, that is low income, a middle income, and the young professional, like the 12 million or so. Combination of the three. If you average out, 15 million. At 40,000, that's what about, I think it's about $600 billion. 600 billion plus the 200 billion for house lot development. Plus we said we are going to give people direct help at the household to improve their homes or alternately help them to offset the construction costs. These are all our plans. The president mentioned them. That's over $800 billion that we'd have to raise. We can't only think about cash grant. We have to raise money so that our people can live in decent homes and they can achieve that dream of having their own home. And we've been investing heavily in that. So that is just to give you an idea of what we have to plan for now in the next 5 years. That's how much money we have to raise through revenue and all of that sort of, maybe other sources. $800 billion or more than that, that's 2.5 billion now. It's about 5 billion. That's about nearly a year and a half of all the money from oil in the 5 years. Just for housing initiative. Just for the housing initiative alone. Leaving out everything else we're talking about. We haven't even touched the other things. So the president made a speech. But I don't know that a lot of the people who are making snide comments, well, some of them you can't help them with them. They would never analyze anything. If it drops on their head, the analysis, they wouldn't even recognize it. But I mean, serious people, we're talking to those who are serious about their own development. And so we've already started planning our commitment. We're not waiting for year 4 to do a couple of houses like APNU and then start just before the elections in 2031. Just then to start. We're starting now because we made a promise. We're taking it seriously, our promises. It should be applauded. I'm going randomly. I'm just taking ideas here, not in any buried pattern, but just to tell you about the profundity of this speech. So we made it clear we want to help people living with disability. We're going to increase the public assistance to 40,000 from, I think, 22,000 over the course of the next few years. President mentioned about 5,000 jobs we're looking to create for the people living with disability, so that they can feel part of the national life and they can contribute to national development too. A lot of people living with disability are very productive. We have about 27,000 of those on the register. So we want to create 5,000 jobs so that they have jobs. They benefit from increased public assistance. And then the children, we've been talking a lot about how do we educate children who are suffering from some form of disability, in their various forms. So we have to find a unique way in Guyana. There is no model that we could adopt just like that from around the world, because each country has different circumstances, and a lot, when you look at the developed world, people pay for everything. They have to pay for this, all pay. Very, in many cases, they can't afford it. So in Guyana's case, we promised that in each region, we will have a state-of-the-art center to address issues of people living with disability, and maybe to help with teaching, learning, addressing their special needs. But we got around to thinking about it further, and we're thinking, for example, if you have, so in the school system, we have over 1,200 schools. If we have to introduce a program in every school, you have to get the teachers. And then in every school, you may not be able, the people come with different forms of disability. So the person has to be trained. You know, they need multiple teachers for different forms. So if you're autistic, you may need another type of teacher. And then if you have a physical disability, you might need someone else. So it would overload the regular school system. We're struggling already. You'd have to hire maybe about 5,000 teachers, new teachers. We have about 60,000. We have one of the lowest ratio, student to teacher ratio in the world. So how do we support families to get a place for the children to go to, so that some of them can work, but also get the children to learn? If you have a center for disability, say in Port Morant or New Amsterdam, if you're in Crabwood Creek and you have a child with disability, you can't every morning travel 2 hours to bring the child to New Amsterdam and then pick up the child back in the afternoon. It's impossible for parents to do this. So we announced, we said, how do we help and we still keep parents involved? And the president announced a unique way of us doing this. We will now, in each NDC or groups of NDC or large villages, we will bring together all the parents of the kids who are suffering some form of disability. We'll set up a board. We will work with them to identify a building and maybe teacher, and we'd ask them to co-manage it. So they Now, if you have 25 families, all 25 have to stay home often to take care of the child. They may be able to even volunteer 2 of them per week, etc. And we will every month give them a subvention to run the cost of the facility, etc. So you involve the parents, the children get some help, it's close by, they don't have to go very far, frees up some of the parents to work, and then the children get some access to learning. And we don't take over the state, don't become too burdened by having to look for staff and all of that, because sometimes you simply can't find people to work, or they don't perform diligently. So that's the model we've been coming up with now, and we're going to test it and we're going to work so you get people to be involved. We work directly with the parents and they get help, financial help from the government to do this sort of thing. So that's something that we announced, and that's a unique way of addressing it. And the president spoke to it in his speech. The next thing is that, and we have to find unique ways of addressing it. Now, we promise day care and night care facilities for people who are working. A lot of women now, we want more women to be trained and coming to the workforce. But a lot of them can't find a place for the kids. And it can't be too expensive, and it can't be far from their homes. So if the government were to build 15 daycare facilities across, say, Berbice or in Region 4, you have to travel in a whole NDC, or like in my village, if you live at Unity and the daycare facilities in Mahika, every morning you'd have to take the child 4 miles to go there and pick up the child. So we thought about how do we support this? The government can't run thousands of facilities. But there may be a model where we can incentivize this, that it becomes a business and a business opportunity for people living in villages or big wards in the city or towns. So we said, this is what we can do. We will do prospectuses. And we're going to have people, if you live in a village and you want to convert your bottom house into a daycare facility, we will, of course, it would have to be regulated. You have to have standards and everything else. But we can help you even co-invest in fixing the facility using the state. We will remove any tax on income you earn from that facility. So if you have 1,000 of these, that's 1,000 people running their own business now across Guyana, doing their own thing. They're running a daycare facility. In exchange, we want a reasonable rate charge because we're helping to co-invest. And this will solve that problem. We can help to solve the problem and create 1,000 new entrepreneurs, maybe across our country, because that's how many. You can have more than one in a village or in a part of the city or ward in the city. So that's our unique way of addressing it. And it is in the budget. We thought about how to do this so we create more opportunities for people. The same model we want to do for the elderly care. So we are going to build a huge facility, modern facility, to replace the PAMs. We've identified a place, we're going to build it so that the state will provide care like we're doing at Hugo Chavez that we built for people, homeless people. But we recognize that a lot of people may want to do elderly care in their provider service wherever they live. So they too will get the same benefits, co-invest and tax benefits. And for those big places, like there's some who want to do this as a big business, they have an institution, then they don't have to pay any corporate tax. So this will make it a very lucrative venture, and you have better quality elderly care. And without the government having to go and run and see whether the man shows up or neglected people there all the time. It would be better managed and people will do that. So I think that missed a lot of people in the speech because the president might have not explained it in this way, but this is the model that we are thinking about. And these are opportunities for people and solving a national problem which brings more women and other people into the workforce, and also it helps with communities and it fulfills a promise that we made, the PP made the promise. But we keep thinking through ways of finding finding solutions that are unique to Guyana. And this is how we're going to approach a matter of this nature. On financial inclusion, the President spoke extensively about this. So clearly, we need to involve more people across the country. As our country gets wealthier, people have to manage their money differently, or we want our young people and women and disabled people, everybody, to start thinking differently. I'm not going to just work at a fixed income job. I want to set up a business. I want a second job because I can prosper quickly. I want to own the home, therefore I can pay off for my home faster or own a vehicle. And that mindset change is important. And we intend to do a lot of work with people because often it's two things. It's knowledge. People have this jitters about starting new businesses and they don't have the tools, they don't have the philosophy. So we're going to be working heavily on the literacy, financial literacy, and financial inclusion, that is talking to people about going about this. Secondly, we're also going to provide a tax framework and a framework for small business that is simplified so that they don't have to, and that incentivizes them. They don't have to go through like the regular Companies Act because it's too complex. File annual returns, get the returns audited and all of that sort of thing, because that could become a humbug to the growth of small business. And we'd have to find a model where they can be registered, but without the requirement to do that, to submit to GRA every year, audited financial statement, etc. Once they fall into the classification of small business. Then we have to, the next thing is starting off. How do people start off if they don't have anything, no collateral? And that is why we are working feverishly on getting the development bank started. We made it clear we are going to put in $200 million US, $40 billion into the bank. And if it requires more later, we'll put in, but that is how we start. It's a promise we made. And the president outlined that up to $3 million, you can get a zero interest rate loan and zero collateral. So you start off, you don't need to own anything to get a loan. If you go to the formal bank, you have to own something. So a lot of people, women and young people and others, want to start a business, they can get the initial capital from the development bank, which is a big problem for some people, initial capital. And then that becomes a stepping stone because we have an arrangement with the formal banking system that they will come in. If people have bigger projects, they can come into and make loans to them. So we are helping to de-risk some of the loans. And then later, when you graduate up, you can move on to the formal banking system because you start owning things already. So that is something that we spoke of. We said we want to do to start business. So apart from the lots of small business through government contracts, in next year when the budget comes out, you're going to have a lot of people working on these small contracts, etc., on roads, on drainage, on cleaning and all of that. There are thousands of Guyanese who will get work in that regard. But I mean also in the business, agro-processing, other services sector, they will be able to get that. But we're not just going to do that, just give the money. We are also setting up a whole apparatus to hold people's hands through this process so that they can succeed. They get a lot of help and mentoring, and then we can develop a new entrepreneurial class. So a lot of that will be done. We also promised in the manifesto, and the president mentioned it, so next year you will see us put out a bond, and we will keep the bond rate. We haven't settled the final numbers as yet, but it could be, the lower limit could be $50,000 to maybe from starting as low as $50,000 to an upper limit, say $1 million or so. And these small bonds. And you can then invest in a government bond. So if you have a bank account now, say $500,000, you're probably getting 1-2% interest at the bank. You'll get a guaranteed 5% interest. So the only downside of this is that if you invest in the bond, you get back your money with a 5%, or the coupon, you get the coupon rate, which is the bond, the interest pay if it's more than 1 year. If it's a 1 year bond renewable, then you get the principal investment plus the coupon, the interest on it at the end of the year. So to make it a liquid instrument, we are planning to do a bond market. So you can easily trade the bond there. And people would be able to get liquidity if they need it, although they invest in a fixed term asset, which is the bond. It's like you putting in your money in the bank and you put it on a fixed account. So a lot of poor people, we said we'll create more opportunities to earn more from their money. Too often people just park their savings in the banking system and they don't look at the return on the savings. And we want to give small people especially a higher return on their savings. That's one. Two, there'll be other opportunities for people who have more money so they can invest in bigger instruments, Guyanese. It's only for Guyanese. We've also issued several prospectuses. So we haven't been sitting down since we got back into office. We've already launched quietly a slew of initiatives that are outside of what the government will fund directly, but will transform our country and create opportunities for people and investment. So if you look at the newspapers, you will see several calls for proposals, expression of interest. So like what we did with housing, and we got 213 proposals to build houses, we have issued several of these for tourism development, waterfront development, a whole range of things here. The Silica City, a innovation and research center, state-of-the-art hospital, a university campus, all of that. So we can start generating a tech park, a biotechnology park, all of these things. These are happening now. While I don't know if people are following this, because this is a huge area that will catapult the level of services in the country to an unbelievable level. So this is important, but there are two of these that we have launched that will become major initiatives. One is the, let me see if I find them here. One is the ammonia urea plant to take the remaining gas. So the gas that we have coming in now will generate 300 megawatts of power. That will come in. We'll do a second power plant because we really need that, or the power. The growth in demand has been enormous, and it will continue to grow once the price comes down. And then the remaining gas that we have, we're hoping to build a fertilizer plant. So we made it clear that we want Guyanese to have ownership of the plant, people here, because they can get a guarantee and a very lucrative return, and we'll underwrite the return on that. So we've called for a proposal, but the structure of the company that we are created would see a significant amount of Guyanese ownership, and we'll have a carve out for small people to own part of that plant, because you can get a higher return, maybe up to 10% return on your money invested if you're getting 1% in the bank. So that is something we're moving forward on. And then the next one is we have another proposal here that's been out for the gas bottling and logistics company. So our gas now, once we start cleaning the gas and it goes to the power plant, and then we get the liquids, we need a company now that would bottle the gas and distribute it and export the excess, because we're cooking gas. So that company too, we want it owned primarily by Guyanese. And so our people can have, it would be lucrative. The numbers are unbelievably low at which we are going to procure this gas at. So you can sell it, I think, at half the price of cooking gas now and still make a huge profit for the people who invest. And so those are two things that are, you wouldn't see them, they didn't get announced much there, but they're moving parallel. Since we got back into office, we've started moving on these other initiatives too. So this is all in keeping with what we said we want our people, especially poor people, or well, not poor, every Guyanese. If you're a public servant, you must be part of the prosperity. You might not be able to invest in a big gas to energy facility, but a part of some company that allows you a lucrative return to, even with your excess savings that you wouldn't get otherwise. So that's important for us. So that was another big area that the president spoke of yesterday, and we're moving ahead with. The justice reform. Well, maybe I shouldn't come to that yet. Let me talk about some of the other things. Community development. The president just restated our vision of how we see every community in Guyana, ultimately where we want to get. We want people to live in decent homes, nice homes. We want our streets paved. We want the drains concrete and clean. We want the garbage picked up. We don't want polluting businesses located in the center of our communities. We don't want people to park their derelicts and other things on their parapets. We want light, well-lit communities. We now have 94,000 street lights are coming in the country. We're going to start installing them soon. And we want safe communities. That means police outposts, a lot of technology, cameras, etc. This is where, and we want a lot of recreational facilities, parks and playgrounds, well maintained. So that's the kind of place that we want our children to be brought up in, and in which we want all of our people to live. And that's the vision. And we'll keep every day investing in every one of the budgets. We'll go closer to achieving that. We're now looking for land to move out the people who are parking in some of the communities, the polluting business. So you can move it slightly out the village, but those people too still have a chance to ply their trade. You know, not do it in a manner that's very disruptive. The president outlined that vision. This is something that you're gonna see. So he didn't say, you know, a lot of people, he didn't go through all the details of it, but he outlined the type of place we want our children to grow up in. And speaking of children, he spoke about something that is very important, the kind of society we want to live in, and how we have to help to shape that society. So, the caring nature of the society, the mindset of the society, the one where we focus on the things that are important to our future, where people are driven to achieve the values that we want to pursue in the society, and a lot on children. So he said, I intend to work with NGOs and the religious community to help us shape this future. And we know that in this country, most of our people are God-fearing. And we know that the religion and the religious community is a force for good in this country. And they bring to the table a lot of the things that they've distilled from the scriptures, whether they're Muslims, Hindus, Christians. They've distilled from the scriptures lives lessons that we all could subscribe to, regardless of our faith. And we want those same values in our schools, taught to our children, and in our society. And we promise, when we had a discussion right here and I pointed it, that we are going to introduce civic education back in schools. I'm not going to introduce religious education, but the religious community would help us to develop the curriculum. And we're going to move to introduce civic education as a compulsory subject in school, so we can shape the minds of our young people around values that are enduring and that fit into our national ethos. Values of patriotism and love for this country. And the president said, I'm prepared to work with the religious community, and I'm listening. And I mentioned this before, I think just after the elections, we have had a huge upsurge in outreach to us from religious leaders and from housewives and community leaders about the pernicious influence of gambling, unchecked gambling in our society and in these low-income areas across the country. That the mindset there often among people, they often will spend out money that is crucial for buying books for their children. Or books might be a bad thing because you don't spend so much on buying books, but food and clothing, and it happens all the time, and get into big fights at a family level, or spend up a significant part of their income And at the end of the month, they blame someone else for their woes. Now, how can you talk to somebody about accumulating wealth, getting a good job and education, a good health care for their families, growing their family, buying a car, if all they live for is to get some credit to play some online gambling? And they get angry if they don't get the credit, and often this is what happens. How do you build? And it's pernicious. It's unchecked now across our country. It's unregulated. Everywhere there are about 1,000 outlets that do this, and in some of the poorest areas. And the president said, we're fixing it, because we can't allow that mindset to go. We don't have a problem. It's done in control and it's regulated. But if we don't, we'd lose a lot of those people. We're going to lose them because they can't accumulate wealth. And we want them to grow. And when I mean accumulate wealth, get a house, get a car, get something nice, and get a good job and stuff. Because sometimes you'll be shocked about how much they spend out. So the president said, I'm working with the religious leaders to take steps to address this. And some people may they don't like it, but you have to do it if you want to shape our society. And he said also, I want to take steps to address, we'll provide the best education to our children. Unlimited amount of scholarships. Unlimited amount of scholarships to our people. We're going to the digital school for our children. We're going to provide more choices for parents. Want a higher quality of education. But we have to fight for the future of these kids too. And often, this device now has become the new babysitter. And it's affecting the children's future and their attention span, and everywhere. All the research globally has shown about, again, the pernicious negative impact on addiction to social media and to this for children. Adults, you can handle it. The adults can deal with that. But Australia, not China. When China did it, they said China is communist, but Australia just banned access for children under 16 years old. And more you're going to see countries go this route. I'm not saying we'll do the extreme. We have to consult with parents. He said there are government officials. He directed the cabinet members to start the consultation across the country. We want to work with the parents because ultimately they need to see what is happening to our children. And I know they know, many of them complain about it a lot. So, but we don't want to be draconian. We want to work with the parents to see what we will do to limit. I'm not saying we'll ban it, but limit this influence on the children so that they can enjoy productive life, not just lives, but be children. They can go to school, they have leisure time, they can go out and play, and of course, go online. There's nothing but in all limited ways. But that's something else. And I think that message people didn't really pay attention, but it's fighting for the heart of our society. And this has no politics about it. This is not whether you're PPP or APNU. This is not whether you're PPP or APNU. These are our children we're talking about. When we talk about gambling too, it's not like PPP or APNU. People all across, every race, every religion, every political persuasion there, it affects them. That is something. The use of drugs was another thing that the president spoke of. That we have to work with religious leaders, NGOs, to see we limit access, so we're going to fight hard against drugs. He spoke of the international coalition to prevent it, and also what we can do to support people who might be addicted and all of that. He spoke about the caring nature for animals, all in keeping with this new mindset philosophy of we can't just be at each other's throat over every issue. That there are things that unite our people, and they all want this for our country. They all want this, and we have to work if we want that kind of country in the future, country that cares for its elderly and take care of the disabled and live in clean circumstances. You can't have people littering, just walking around and just throwing things everywhere. He even spoke of that, just throwing things wherever they wish, or going to dump their garbage just behind the neighbor's backyard. And that is worth fighting for. And he said, we will fight for it too. The PPP will fight for that type of society. We're going to work with those who are interested to carve out the initiatives that will support the development of that mindset in Guyana. A lot of people miss that. The message about justice. And for too often, he said, legislative changes to make the judges, magistrates, and legal practitioners more accountable. And we are examining a lot of this. But then he spoke also about the changes in the system and the huge support we're giving to the judiciary and the magistracy, the judiciary, to make this sector an important branch of government, not just accountable, but more efficient and more effective. We're giving them a ton of tools, from the new courts, new facilities, the new equipment, a large number of new judges appointed, etc. But we expect also, he said, we don't want them to rule in favor of the establishment, but we want to be predictable and fair. Predictable means if two persons go before the court and they both take my coffee here and take a sip of it and it's illegal, and one will walk off with a sentence of 100 years, and the other one, who is a little wealthier, he could get off for free. Or, so that sort of thing, especially when you have precedents. People in the lower courts ignore the precedents. We're a precedent-based system. They ignore the precedents of the higher courts. We've had a number of cases there. People, if you're wealthy, it seems as though there are different standards, so you are the GRA or in the court system. And this has to change. And we have to make it more the sector more accountable, and we have to provide not just access by more courts across the country, but to poor people too. That's why he spoke of the expansion of legal aid. A lot of people can't pursue their grievances because they can't afford to do so. And then we have to step in as the state and provide them with the resources so they too, regardless of their circumstances, can get justice. And that's the system we want. We don't want a sycophantic judiciary. We don't want that. We want a judiciary that acts responsibly and accountably and predictably too. That is important for the future of justice in the country. And I'm glad he defined that vision, because some people like to game the system. Right now we see what's happening. Gaming the system all the time. Trying to delay things through the system because they have compliant judges or magistrates. But another person, I had personal experience of this. People move swiftly through the system. I I don't know. I was going to give an example, but I didn't want to. I has someone I know who got his case heard and ruled on in a matter of 6 months and people have been languishing there for years in the same sort of field where they had lawsuits, but because this person seemed to be connected. And this happens too often. We have to start fighting this too. If you can't eliminate it, we got to minimize it. Because too many people, their lives are held up because of sloth in the system or this kind of lack of accountability. So that's an important, the president spoke about that. Security, he made it very clear that every person here, he spoke of labor shortages, which will affect us, about the immigration policy that we promised in our manifesto. And he then said it's going to come, and we made it clear, we've signaled some of the intention that people who come here, we're welcoming, but you have to come here for a purpose, and you have to stay for a defined period. That's our law. And the project that we are currently rolling out would allow us to register everyone living in our country. Our citizens would have a different card which gives them certain privileges, and others will have to have another card with the time they're here for and all of that. So we know everyone who is in our country. So we can track people because we have facial recognition software. We'd have the biometrics on those cards. And if they engage in negative activities in our country, we'd have to get rid of them. And we're not going to put our sovereignty at risk because of anyone or anyone's presence here. And we also made it clear that we were thinking about it. I said the discussions that we had internally is that we may have to ensure that the law, even if they have a long-term residence here, that people like places like Qatar and other places, it takes you 25 years to get voting rights, or 30 years. So they can't change the nature of our country, because with the pace things going here, you could have, if they have voting rights, you could have all kinds of MPs in the parliament from other countries. Could have a large enough, you only need about 7,000 people to get a member of parliament. So we're not going to compromise our country for no reason whatsoever. And the president made that very, very clear, so you know where the PPP stands on this matter, on national sovereignty and securing this country, and the investments that would be made in keeping our communities safe. He spoke about accountability from the police force too, and the security forces. They have to be accountable. There are quite a few things about, so the digitization of the country. A lot of people, I see them complaining, oh, the president spoke a long time about digitization and he didn't need to speak so long. But what the president was saying is we're going to make technology work for people, so in multiple ways. I'm going to create an environment where you would see a growth of technology and high-end jobs and opportunities. AI being used in education and healthcare to better deliver healthcare and education. We'll train more people in those sectors. We'll recruit people from abroad for the new hospital so we get the best quality service. We will open up tech parks. We'll create incentives for AI companies to operate here, because that's the future. And I'm going to use digitization in multiple ways through government portals, etc., to make life easier for our people. So if you need a birth certificate, driver's license, you need your passport, you need to apply, file tax returns, etc., in the next few years, you'll be able to sit at home, don't go and line up anywhere, and you'll be able to do that. That will make it easier for citizens across Guyana. Now you can, because everyone has access now to online, well, internet, even in the Amerindian communities. And so that's what he was saying. So I see a lot of people talking about digitization, or what does it mean for me? It means a lot for you and our society. It means a lot for our country, because if you can do that, that's the vision. It's making Guyanese lives easier. You don't have to go all day and sit at some government office and people don't smile at you, or take a long time to come and give you some form or sell you a form. It's ridiculous, and we want to fix that. That's the first thing. So then we'd use AI and digitization to make people more accountable, the post audits. Look at the findings now that we have when we did the post audit on driver's license. Corruption. You can fight corruption. We will be able to do that in many agencies using maybe blockchain technology. So in GGMC and the Forestry Commission, you have these, or lands and survey, that people can go and file false claims, etc. Man gets a plot of land, and then he finds some gold, somebody go and file a false claim, they were there, backdated, he loses it. If you use these technology, you can't go on and change anything. Can't change blockchain. So that can help us fight this. From January or so, the procurement, bringing public procurement online. So you don't have to buy newspapers, you don't have to go and search for that. Wherever you are in Guyana, all you just do, go on your phone every day. And you know what are the opportunities across government. You don't have to know somebody in a ministry to know this. That's what we're using it for. And of course, the creation of new sectors. So digitization is a tool for increased productivity, a tool for delivery of better services, tool to ensure that government is more accountable to people. There are so many other things here that I can talk about today. I didn't do it in any particular fashion. I'm just telling you about the thinking behind a lot of the things. So I expect people to relook at this now with a different set of eyes. And then you can see what is behind all of this vision, and the enormous amount of work and the deliberate planning that goes behind this. So I see some lame comments coming out of the opposition, because all they're thinking about is just like cash grant and nothing else. You know, they can't get more complex than a couple of words. And this requires complexity of thought. It's running a country. It's people's futures in your hand. You can't just be, flippant about this and don't plan properly. And that's what we've been doing. Next year, you're going to see in the oil and gas sector already a lot of more focus on local content expansion. We're even thinking about expanding local content provision to some other sectors now, which is, we didn't do that in the past, but we're finding some of these gold mining companies now that they have an incestuous relationship with others, where even the supply of food to some of them they are the foreign gold mining companies, not the local ones. They are outsourcing that to foreigners. We're not going to tolerate this like we didn't in the oil and gas sector. Now we're going to expand the oil and gas sector to bring more of their activities under the local content provisions. But we may have to extend it to some other sectors too. There are a whole range of things. All the Amerindian communities, President spoke about these. We have done like a really working with the villagers and through the LCDS, other government programs, working with the leadership of the villages, the two shows, etc. We've made enormous progress in these villages in terms of access to education and health. The same thing we have to do now. We've spoken on the budget. How do we get more jobs in the area? Because a lot of young people now need more jobs. So the focus has to start shifting a bit from that now, just the provision of infrastructure, to getting more jobs and income for people. But a lot of infrastructure, I didn't even speak about the infrastructure plan. We have a map now where you can see all of the infrastructure plan for riverine, the riverine development, or river transport, air transport, land transport, all superimposed on this map of Guyana. And it is, the president pointed out, there are several objectives. So it will be, this is all with the vision to support growth and development and diversification of the economy so that we have a sustainable country in the future, and secondly, to make people's lives better, like what the Mara Harbor Bridge has done now for a lot of people across the region. Now it cut down transit time significantly. It cut down transit time, they improved that. Apart from the economic impact of it now, people just move their containers. I gather we moved across that bridge, the transformer, I think it was, for the gas to energy thing, and it's 175 tons. You couldn't move that on the other bridge. It just sank immediately. And they rolled it across the new bridge. I heard some people say they had some rumors again about that. So I just wanted people to look at that, to look back at all of these things, what we mapped out. We're a party, a serious party. We can't be just running around talking nonsense all day long. And just, you gotta they find some toilet and fixes yet, and that's a referendum on the government. Well, that's not the way. You check our track record, how we have moved this country forward. That's it. You check the wealth, the progress in Guyana. You talk to the people who've come, you talk to your relatives, and they have been coming here and they can see it. And many, many of our people have made enormous progress. And some, those who were left behind because of what I said before, where they live, sometimes we haven't gotten to that area in terms of jobs, etc. We are catering for them. We're catering for them. They will get the help. So this is what I wanted to deal with today. I think that's all I'm going to deal with today. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, go on.
Vice President Kimal King for Guyana Standard. Sir, how concerned should Guyanese be about the potential for some military event involving Venezuela and the United States in the near future?
So, what do you mean about that?
Sending its marine vessels to the international waters in the Caribbean, apprehending a tanker that's said to be carrying Venezuelan crude as part of a shadow fleet. And Venezuela also seems to be getting ready for some sort of conflict. And the government of Guyana has met with some officials from the Department of War in the US. So I'm just wondering, what exactly are your priorities in these discussions with the US Department of War? And what does that say about the potential for something to happen in the near future?
So clearly, the United States has laid out its objective for being in the region. The Secretary of War has pointed out what assets they have in the region and the purpose of their presence. President Trump himself has made it clear that he is here to fight drug trafficking. We support any fight against drug traffickers. We support any fight against drug traffickers. And we will work with the United States of America to collaboratively to support all of their activities aimed at blocking illegal drugs from going up to the United States of America or coming to Guyana. That's a stated objective long before their presence in the region. I don't know if the United States of America will take action against the Venezuelan government. If they're going to do this, they wouldn't tell Guyana. And if they're going to do that. And so I can't comment on a hypothetical. As far as we're concerned, we have engaged with the United States of America. They have assured us
Of the year, the parliament had approved $5 billion in withdrawals from the, with respect to the withdrawals that have been made from January to November, there's about $660 million left in the fund. I was just wondering, what exactly are government's year-end expenses to take care of with respect to the use of that revenue that's approved to be withdrawn from the fund?
Yeah, but it's just is not anything new. That was announced at budget time. So because every time they think it's new money that we're withdrawing. And I had to explain to them that when we got into office, we made it clear that we're going to change the law in opposition to, first of all, ensure that every cent of revenue paid into the funds would be notified to the Parliament and published in the official gazette within 3 months of the receipt of the fund. And we now did that in the law, and we put a 10 years jail term for the Minister of Finance if he fails to do this. Because Jordan he thought it was a gift. You remember that? And so we fixed that. In addition to that, we said all of the money based on the formula that we have now, that's passed at budget time, every time, if we pass $1 billion to come to the budget, that is in when we debate the budget, $1 billion US. If we take out $100 million, we're going to notify you when we take it out. Not that it's new money, so we may take out 100 million 10 times in the year from the fund, but it's still the 1 billion approved at the time of the budget. It's not additional money. So when the budget was passed, the oil and gas revenue was only about 37% of the budget. So having 600 million in the fund is just a financing issue because we still have, it's only 37% of the budget. So that will probably go to the central bank very soon to retire if funds issued by the central bank to the government. So they'll get the foreign currency.
Okay. With respect to phase 2 of the gas-to-energy project at Wales, the government had received bids a while back from interested potential contractors. I'm not sure what movement there has been on that front.
Yeah, I think those are being examined now carefully. We're not rushing to make anything premature. We've had good engagements with, there was a change in the ownership of the group that is building the gas to energy project. Since then, we have had an acceleration of work on the ground. They're now installing a lot of the turbines, the simple cycle turbines there, and they've started the foundation for the other plants that have to be there. So we are focused heavily on getting that done. We will be deliberate about how we assess. We have not completed the assessment of what we want to go for in the second power plant. We're more interested in buying power, but the power has to approximate the cost that we want so that it would allow us to continue selling at 11 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's where we are. These are the variables, but the decision should be made soon, and then it will be notified. But we have already, as you correctly pointed out, we had lots of proposals through a public process already.
Okay, finally, you talked about the gambling problem. Could you talk about what are the primary demographics engaged in this problem that will inform how you address it?
It has not, our people. Our people. I don't, what do you mean demographics? Guyanese,
a gender component, an age group, that's...
Well, it cuts across. It happens in some places, even in the workplaces. On construction site, people sitting at the top of the 7-story building and they're placing a bet on their phone. An addiction. So it's across the board, and it affects not the elderly so much. It's not the elderly so much. Well, maybe you have a different view, right? So maybe I don't know, but even if them, so the pension money goes there too. No, it's really affecting a lot of people, and it's almost like a free fall, and it boom into this.
Mr. Jagdeo, Dennis Chabral,
Yes,
Governor
Dinesh.
Airwaves. Sir, you were only, I would imagine, a few weeks ago from the next national budget.
Yes.
Could you say how will the declining oil prices, never mind minor increases due to conflicts in some instances, affect the allocation of resources, especially for infrastructure and other public projects? And since yesterday's address by the President, there are two related concerns on the lips of many persons. They want to know why apparently the government broke its promise with respect to the payment of the cash grant for Christmas. And secondly, why is it only $100,000 that will be paid next year? And thirdly, a matter concerning you directly. And this also has to go with what some people on the streets have been saying. Are you ill? Have you been diagnosed with cancer?
No, I'm not ill. I have not been diagnosed with cancer. This rumor started from someone who died in Apnu. Was an Apnu person. I think it started. His name was Eggball, I think. He was DPI person, the DPI person, and then he died in COVID, I think. And since then, Apnu has been using it, but I'm not diagnosed with cancer. I'm not sick, and this is not Dilip speaking here. It's Bharrat Jagdeo. So, because you have a hate industry surrounding me. The Apnu people, some of them were not happy during the campaign. They said, oh, I'm talking too much. Kaicho News ran a whole series about me being in every week this press conference at Freedom House, weekly press conference. Jagdeo should shut up. He doesn't know. And then I decided there are other important things to do, like working now to deliver on our promises. The elections are over. The elections are over. For some people, they don't realize that until now. They're still fighting the elections. We won the elections with a huge majority. We have 5 years ahead of us. Actually, we even started as yet, because the elections are now constitutionally due till 2031. And so they didn't get the memo as yet that we're not going to be engaged in a daily fight of the issues. It worked well in the period when they were campaigning. They go out and generate some light. I didn't even bother to respond to this. We have been working now to deliver. What we have done in the last 3 months in terms of conceptualization, planning, starting to implement, it will take Apnu maybe a good decade to get it done, and win maybe about 10 decades. And what we have done in the last 3 months with their level, their intellectual capacity, and that's not being arrogant or lack of intellectual capacity. So we're not wasting our time with these people. They are spreading rumors all the time about me and stuff. I choose what I want to do, and I'm working now, not through public engagement, but I'm working to make sure that, you see this is our contract. It doesn't say, and by the way, this didn't say in this manifesto here, it didn't say cash grant before Christmas. It said, the president, I recall at Eccles, the PM was saying, next year you'll get your cash grant. And the president said, if you're good people, it may happen this year. Jocularly, the president said, if you're good people. And this is what they're building their campaign on. And you ask me, why 100,000? I just pointed out, I don't know, you were here. Yes, I just pointed out that the 63 billion that we have to spend, what the president just announced for cash grant, is more than the entire current revenue when I started my second term as president. That's the magnitude of it. Suriname just canceled theirs. In the United States of America, Alaska, they produce. They don't, one time or so, they give some money. So it seems as though that's the obsession. And that's when you have people who don't have ideas. They don't want to manage anything. They fabricate something. Oh, there's this. You show me, this is our Bible. I shouldn't say Bible, but I mean it's a political party. The manifesto. You see, it speaks about cash grants here. It didn't say before Christmas. And in fact, how could you do it before Christmas? It took us 5 months the last time to get it implemented. You know how many people try to rip off the system? The last time they said, we didn't get it, we checked their name, they're on the database. They collected their checks before. You have an industry that does this. We don't even have a budgetary provision for it. You have to go to Parliament to get a budgetary provision. But we made it clear, the President said, you're getting it, and in the future, you're get several more. We're now operating for Christmas alone of 2025. We're in office till 2030, 31. And we have to manage it, and the people will get help, all of the people. But they have nothing else to say. Well, they can't come with serious business. They can't talk. You expect, I don't know, let me don't call names because I don't want to waste my time with these people. You expect them to talk about a complex issue like digitization?
But Mr. Jagdeo,
Yes.
in
So
terms, in
what
terms
was
of
the
the
third question? The
in
first
terms
one?
of the number, this is not what the politicians are saying. These are people in the buses by the markets.
No, but because
$150,000 can $100,000 is too little. That's what some of them are saying. So my question to you is, why can't you pay more?
So the thing is that everybody would say, if I might say it myself, it's too little if I want money too. Everybody wants money. But that's what I just wasted my whole afternoon explaining frameworks. And when you manage a country, you don't only manage it for cash grants. You don't manage a country for cash grant. We manage it. We're going to have to spend over $800 billion in the next 5 years on housing people. But that will change multiple lives. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of families will get improvement. The children will get more money. I mean, even look at that, because the children will get more money. The pensioners will get more money. Those with public assistance will get more money through cash grants too. Wages and salaries will go up. You don't manage for cash grant alone. And if we only allow that mindset, that's some people just waiting for that for everything. Cash grant. You gotta earn too. That's what the president was just talking about it. Cash grants should help supplement what you have. Anyhow, the first point is that about. So that's why it's so crucial. You just started off with oil prices falling, and then you ask why this 100,000. And all of oil revenue that we have is only 37% of the budget. So you can't even finance 50% of the budget from the oil money, but we want big cash grants. So where is the rest of the money going to come from? That is why we outlined the planning framework for 5 years. We know now, based on very conservative forecasts in revenue, how we will finance all of these measures. It will be a combination of oil resources revenue, non-oil revenue, and some borrowing on terms that we have defined. But even with our borrowing now, we have currently in the Natural Resources Fund more money than our external foreign debt, our total external foreign debt. One of the few countries that has that. And now our external debt would fall to about 12% of GDP, one of the lowest in the world. In the United States, it's over 100%. In Japan, 150% of GDP. Ours would be 12% of GDP. So that is how we plan it for the next 5 years. And then towards the latter part, once the debt is, or the capital spending is amortized on the oil and gas sector, then the revenue starts going up higher towards the outer years. Then you can easily retire. Maybe we don't even need to borrow at that time.
Mr. Jagdeo.
So that is why you talk to some of the other politicians about planning framework, they're clueless. You go and put a microphone in front of one of them and ask them, what's the planning framework you have for the next 5 years? What's your vision to implement this planning framework? Have you worked out what it will cost, some of your initiatives, and how you're going to raise the fund, and from where? No. We have done all of that in the last 3 months and even before that. We are clear about these things. And so they live for social media posts. Oh, cash grant, President Ali, they made something at Eccles, and he said, you might get it this year if you're good. That's what they're hanging on to. This is our manifesto here. We intend to honor it.
But you also said that the president keeps his promises. But
that's not. The thing is, the president said, I will pay you the cash grant before the end of the year. The president, Mark, said, oh, you get it next year. The president said, be good, be good. That's how you look at it. We have kept, imagine these clowns that talk about fulfillment of promises. I see APNU talking about PPP and compare about fulfillment of promises. We promised 50,000 house slots, we delivered it. We promised to do 20,000 scholarships. We delivered 37,000 plus another maybe 30-something thousand through other programs. We promised free education the last term, we did it. We didn't even promise to pay for the CXC. We did it. We promised to restore their bonus, the 1 month joint services bonus that the president just announced. We did it. We promised to remove the taxes to restore the pensioner free water and electricity subsidy. We did it. We promised to remove all the taxes on a whole range of food stuff. We did it. We removed the taxes on gasoline and diesel. That costs us $100 billion a year. $100 billion a year in subsidy. Every gallon of gas or diesel you buy has over $500 of subsidy. We did it. We did. You talking about promises and the PPP? And I can go down a long list. It's not. I haven't even touched 1/10 of what we did, what we promised to do, and what we did. So they want to make it about a one-issue thing, and it's dumb politicians who will do this, and even dumber people who will latch on to that.
With respect
people of low intellectual capacity, is the politicians, some of these politicians.
In the health sector, could you say what are the arrangements being made to hire health workers from Trinidad?
Trinidad?
Yes.
We not from everywhere. Yes, but everywhere where we get health workers, wherever they come from, we are recruiting now, because we want to make sure until we train up our people. We have a massive training program, but we're not going to be able to fully man these hospitals with our own healthcare professionals right now. May happen in the future. And so we made it clear we're recruiting from anywhere in the world once they're skilled people.
Why didn't government decide to enter directly into a joint venture between Gaisuco and Sucru for the construction of the refinery, rather than have an intermediary private sector firm be part of that arrangement? Rather than having an intermediary private sector firm being part of that arrangement, that is to say,
sugar?
Yes, that's a refinery. It's Geico and Sucru. So my question to you is, why not the government have Gaisuco pursue it?
You know, we're hoping to get a private sector to invest more in sugar. We believe there is a lot of potential still in sugar to make money. The government doesn't want to do the investment. It's a simple thing. You have a proposal now, we're happy about the proposal, and they will do it. We want more private sector involvement, not just there, but in other consortia that we're planning, like we did with the black eyed peas and with corn and soya, and the other Guyanese consortium that is building the shore thing at Reed and Hoop. These Guyanese firms, that's what we want to step up. The president made it clear we are working for our people. Guyanese private sector, Guyanese families across the country, wherever they live. That's why we elected. So thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, Cordell.
Dr. Jagdeo, Cordell Jones from Livewire News. Recently, the Minister of Amerindian Affairs had, I should say, members of Parliament from the opposition would have tried to access a government facility at Princess Street, the hostel there. There was an altercation slightly between the minister and these officials from the opposition.
Cordell,
Could we get your thoughts on that?
Yes. The people, so you're going to see this with increased frequency. I think I saw something from Claudine, and Claudine was very profound. Claudine made it clear. So just watch what Claudine said. I'm not going to repeat what Claudine said. But you're going to find politicians do this a lot. CN Sharma, a whole range of people. They look at the budget, used to do it. They know what's coming. So, for example, before the elections, I met with a group from across the river who come from the hinterland to train medical training. They told me they have to travel across the river for the dormitories there all the time. I met with the students from the hinterland and riverine areas who are going at Cyril Potter College and at GSA. We had a good chat. We met with a number of people who use the hostel. The president made an announcement that we are going to build in state-of-the-art facility where you have recreation, you could have a gym, you could have decent facility. Here, the facility is old and you don't have much space. It's in the center of the city. We identify land. The minister had a drawing done. It was presented to the NTC. They know of that. The other side know of it. So then they will go, they'll make an issue outside of the hostel. And when we announce the project, then they'll come and say, oh, it's only because of us that the government doing this. It's a kind of, I don't know what kind of politics it is, but I guess it works for some people. Low-life politics. It's low-life politics. So I don't want, and I think the minister held her own. She's a strong, bright girl, and she did a great job. And she is committed. I know her well. Grew up in the party. She is the youth, that the executive of the party. She is responsible for youth affairs across the country in the party. She's a smart person, and they wouldn't bully her. So kudos to her.
Several MPs from the APNU would have went into the Lambert Street area to do a cleanup with City Hall. The cleanup of the city falls under City Hall. Would you share your thoughts on the opposition having to bring out the mayor and city council to actually do their job?
Well, you should barely deal with it. The people of Georgetown need to understand this. The city council has not done anything to improve the city. All they're doing now is a hustle. You have key officials in there and the leadership of the city council. Until now, they're working out deals with people to cut the taxes, the back taxes, in exchange for bribes. And so they're writing off large sums for people who owe the city council in exchange for some money under the table. This is what's happening there. And that's why we had said, if you want to do it in the framework of a policy. Announce the policy and say anybody who comes in now will get a 50% reduction. And then People don't have to come and meet you privately at your home or in the street corner or at the cafe and give you some money. That's it. Announce the policy. It should be across the board, and then everybody at the city hall. So whether you're a poor person, a small, maybe you have a home, just a small home in the city, and you will get the same benefit like the big businessman could get. Some of these big business people are paying less taxes than people who own a house because they get write-offs. That's what's happening in the city council, and it's happening, purely happening. That's a usual thing, APNU culture. Up to now, we can't find out about the tax payment. Remember the $6 billion that the APNU owes? APNU owes over $6 billion for their property. I think they got 30-something acres of land in the city. And they don't pay anything. You'd guess best if it was a PPP, they'd be running us down. We're paying our taxes for our properties. Thank you. Thank you.